So let's take a look. We are doing review. So let's try and go as fast as possible. Number one is a question that looks like this. You're dividing, we have to use KFC. Remember what KFC stands for? You keep the first part, okay? And then you flip the second part. And then the C stands for, you change this to multiplication, right? So let's go ahead and do that first. Just have to rewrite it. So I'm just copying the first part. There's nothing different. The back, I'm changing it to multiplication, and then I'm flipping, right? So x to the 5th power, this one comes on top. You notice how the bottom is now on top. Now the top goes to the bottom, right? So now we're ready to factor. Everybody knows how to do the big X, right? So I'm not going to worry about that, but I'm going to worry about all the other stuff, right? So over here, this one right here, you gotta do the big X, right? So we'll just show you how to do it right here on the side. Do the big X. 2 times 15 is 30. So 30 goes on top, and then the negative 13 goes at the bottom. We're looking for two numbers we can multiply to get 30 and add to get negative 13. Let's see. So it'll be negative 15 times 2, right? Multiply to get, oh, why did I use negatives? My bad. So that's the wrong answer. It's going to be actually 10 and 3. So it's going to be negative 10 times negative 3, which is going to give me positive 30. And negative 10 plus negative 3 is negative 13. So I draw my fraction bar, and the number that I put on top is the 2, the leading coefficient, okay? So I'm going to put the 2 on top, and then negative 10 and negative 3 goes at the bottom. We gotta simplify what we can, divide the top and the bottom by 2. We get 1 over negative 5. I put the x's on top, right? So that's how I got x minus 5 and 2x minus 3 on top, okay? So of course, I don't need this anymore. I'm going to erase it. So everybody should know how to factor using the big X, all right? So the next thing I want to move on to is this one right here, okay? So factoring by GCF is something that a lot of you have a difficult time with. So let's see if we can figure this out. We have 2x to the 3rd power minus 3x squared, right? So we're noticing that we can divide both sides by what? Yes, x squared. So we're going to pull out the x squared, and then we're actually dividing. So 2x cubed divided by x squared. So 2 divided by 1 is 2. 3x is on top, 2 at the bottom. So 2 cancel out, and then I have 1 left. Minus the x squared gets canceled out, so I'm left with minus 3. And that's it. I cannot factor anymore with the 2x minus 3. So that is my factor form down here. X squared 2x minus 3. Now I'm going to erase that as well. So now I want to factor this one right here. It's the same thing as down here, but you gotta do more than one step, right? So let's go. X to the 5th power plus 4x to the 4th power minus 5x to the 3rd power. I could divide every single thing by x to the 3rd power, right? Okay, so pull it out. Okay, then you have 5x's on top, 3 at the bottom. So that's x squared, 4 on top, 3 at the bottom, so plus 4x. And then all the x's are gone. I'm left with just negative 5. Oh, so I think I'm done, but I realized that I can actually factor this even further, right? So let's go ahead and do that. X squared plus 4x. So we had x squared. Was it plus 4x minus 5? I hope so. Let me go back. Plus 4x minus 5. Yes. So there you go. We have to do the big X, right? So 1 times negative 5 is negative 5 on top, and 4 is at the bottom. So 5 times -1 is -5, and 5 plus -1 is 4. So then our leading coefficient is 1, so it's 1 over 5, 1 over -1. We can't simplify anything, right? So we're going to put x plus 5, x minus 1. Okay? So now, this is my scratch paper area, if you can tell. Yay, I'm almost done. I just have to factor this one right here. This is called the difference of two squares, right? So remember, a squared minus b squared equals a plus b times a minus b. This is something that by now you should memorize, okay? So all you have to do is find the square root of a squared, which is a, find the square root of b squared, which is b, and then you go a plus b, a minus b. So then obviously we have x squared minus 25. So find the square root of both, which is x and 5, and we're left with x plus 5, x minus 5, right? Pretty simple if you ask me. So now we just have to cancel stuff out. X minus 5, x minus 5. Let me just erase this part for you because some students get really confused if they see too many numbers. 2x minus 3, x plus 5. Wow, almost everything is being canceled out. Look, there's 3 x's on top though, so there's only 1 x left, and then all of this would go away because there's 2 x's at the bottom. So what is my answer? Very simple. On top, I only have x times x minus 1. At the bottom, I have nothing left, so you're not going to put over 1. You're just going to leave it like this. So for this question, let's just assume that everything is defined. And so I'm not going to make you go through the trouble of telling me what x is not equal to on this one for this time. Okay? All right, let's move on to question number 2. For this one, we have to make sure that we find the lowest common denominator. Okay? So there you go. We have to find, let me first find factors and then I'm going to erase it, okay? So 2x squared minus 23x plus 45. We need to find factors of that. That means we have to do the big X, right? So 2 times 45 is 90. Ooh, big number. The bottom, I'm going to put 23. What times what is 90 and what plus what is negative 23. So if this is positive on top and is negative at the bottom, I know that I need to find two numbers that are negative. Okay, so I'm just going to start with 1. 1 times 90, 2 times 45, 3 times 30, 4 times, does 4 go into 90? No, so maybe 5. 5 goes into 90, 5 times 1 is 5. 18 times. Oh, look, I think I got my answer, 5 and 18. If they're both negative, it's going to end up being negative 23. So there you go, negative 5, negative 18, right? So I need to do my fraction bar, put the 2 on top, and my two answers, negative 5 and 18 at the bottom. Simplify, put the x's on top. Now I have 2x minus 5, x plus 9. So I know that my factors are going to be 2x minus 5, and x plus 9, okay? So the most basic thing you have to know to solve any of these questions is just knowing how to factor, like every single different kinds, right? And then now let's see what the factors are because we have to find the LCM for these two, right? So I just found factors for this. Now I want to find out what the factors are for that one. So I put 2x minus 5 over here, and of course the factors of 2x minus 5 is just that. So then let's look for our LCM. I'm going to use this one and this one, right? Please make sure that when you write your GCF, you put the same thing on top of each other. So I have 2x minus 5 and x plus 9, and this is going to be my LCM. So now that's been settled. So I'm going to erase it because I don't have scratch paper on my screen, so I'm just using this screen and then I'm erasing it. Okay, that was x plus 9. So now, let's get back to my work. So it was 2x minus 5, and then it was x plus 9, right? Yeah. No. It was x minus 9. Right? Yes. Okay. So there you go. 2x minus 5, and then x minus 9. Okay, so now since this and this is the same thing, it's just in factor form, right? So we're going to leave it as is, which means the 3x on top stays the same. But down here on this side, look, I only had 2x minus 5 on top, but down here I got that. But in addition to that, I got a new friend, x minus 9. So I need to multiply the x minus 9 here. And whatever you multiply to the bottom, you also have to multiply to the top. So I'm going to also multiply x minus 9 on top. So when you do that, you got to make sure that you multiply the whole thing, right? So make sure you put x plus 2 in parentheses. You're multiplying everything by x minus 9. Okay? So now, let's see. I'm going to combine everything together because we have the same denominator. Yay, right? Okay, so I'm going to copy the 3x. And don't forget what I said. We're subtracting here, right? So we're going to take away this whole thing in the back. And let's use the box method. I have x plus 2 because it's x plus 2 over here. And then I have x minus 9 over there. So I'm going to put x and then minus 9. And then I multiply. X times x is x squared. 2 times x is 2x. Negative 9 times x is negative 9x. Negative 9 times 2 is negative 18. And then don't forget, you got to combine these two because they are both x's, right? So I have x squared. And then when I add these two together, it's negative 7x. Because when you have opposite symbols, you subtract 9 minus 2, and then you keep the symbol for the bigger number. You know that, right? And then negative 18. Okay. So the next thing you gotta do is distribute the negative. All right? So it's 3x minus x squared plus 7x plus 18, right? And our denominator is still the same. Okay, so now let's combine like terms. The negative x squared is by itself. The 3x goes with the 7x. And then the plus 18 is by itself, right? Okay. Ooh, I don't have space here. I'm going to have to move to the next page, right? So let me write this down on a sheet of paper. So let's combine them. Let's move on to the next page, okay? So there you go. That's going to equal negative x squared plus 10x plus 18. And our denominator was 2x minus 5 and x minus 9. And this is where we say what values of x cannot equal 0. I mean, what values of x cannot be, right? But before we do that, what did I say? I cannot have a negative leading coefficient. I could try and factor this, but I already tried and it didn't work. If I could factor, and then cancel out, right? But I already tried, it doesn't work. So pull out the negative. Don't forget to pull out the negative, okay? Then you gotta multiply everything here by a negative because it's like factoring, okay? Pulling out the negative 1. So I have x squared, and then the positive 10x is now going to turn into negative 10x, and the positive 18 is now going to turn into negative 18. Our denominator is still the same, and the denominator cannot ever equal 0 because those are your asymptotes, right? So x cannot equal 9. That's pretty self-explanatory over here, right? But then for this one, let me just show you the work because some of you will be confused. 2x minus 5 also cannot equal 0, right? So you add 5, 2x cannot equal 5, divide both sides by 2, and x cannot equal 5 over 2. All right? And that will be the correct answer. Okay? This part right here. A lot of you forget the negative over here. Please don't forget. All right? All right, I'm going to continue on in the next video.